I want to know where all my ranch neighbors are tuning in from across the country. The moment that sign came out of Karen's SUV, time slowed. It was my property sign, the one that used to hang proudly near the front gate. It had gone missing 2 weeks earlier, and I thought maybe the wind had taken it. But no.
There we go.
There it was, rolled up neatly and hidden in the back of her trunk. Still marked with my signature and my engineering license number at the bottom. Every officer went quiet. Karen's face turned ghost white. "What is that doing in your car?" one of the deputies asked her, stepping closer. Karen blinked fast. What? I was going to return it. I found it. I thought it blew off. I picked it up for safekeeping." "Blown off the gate and into your trunk? Rolled up and hidden under a blanket?" the deputy asked, raising a brow. Karen's hands were trembling now. Her iced latte had tipped over onto her passenger seat. Forgotten. "I was trying to help. She's the one who's been stealing community land. I was doing my civic duty." The lead officer, Sergeant Daniels, pulled out a tablet and looked me straight in the eye. "Morgan Blake, right?" I nodded. "Chief Civil Engineer on file for Lot 17A, parcel code WRE 09821. "Yes, sir." Daniels turned the tablet toward the other deputies. "Not only is she the owner, but she's the original engineer. Every structure on this land, designed, built, and approved by her 5 years ago. Permits are clean. Boundaries are legally surveyed. And this property is not under HOA jurisdiction." The silence was deafening. Karen opened her mouth again, but this time her words came out scrambled. She's lying. These records must be fake. They're fabricated." Daniels gave her a long stare.
Good luck out
"You accused
there."
someone of theft,
Thanks,
broke onto their
Sebastian.
land multiple times, and you're in possession of their property marker. Right now, that's looking like criminal trespass and possible evidence tampering." That was when Karen exploded. "I am the president of Meadow Glen Hawk. This whole area follows my rules." "Ma'am," Daniels said firmly, "you don't rule private ranches that were bought outside your HOA limits. This woman doesn't answer to you." Karen spun around furious. "She's ruining our view. She brought in goats and chickens, and there's a pond now. What if someone drowns? She built a bridge. A bridge. What gives her the right to make this place look like a farm?" I looked up, still calm. "It is a farm. It's my farm." Karen let out a loud, frustrated "Sue you for harassment, for defamation. I'll call the town council." Daniels held up a hand. "Ma'am, unless you calm down, you'll be leaving here in a squad car. Right now, you're one step away from her hands were twitching, her lips pressed tight like she was trying to chew through steel. But I wasn't smiling, because as much as I was relieved the truth came out, I knew it wasn't over. This was bigger than one sign. It was about control. Karen had lost it, and now she was going to come back stronger, more vicious. And I was right, because 2 days later, a letter arrived at my front door. No stamp, no envelope, just a printed paper, folded once, shoved through my gate latch. In bold letters, it read,
Hello.
"The war isn't over."
I'm waiting for you to add in Roblox.
I leaned against the porch railing, took a deep breath, and looked out over my land. How did we get to this point? The land was supposed to bring peace, simplicity, a place where I could live.
I'm eating it. I'm letting it cool down a bit.
Noise without fights. But now it felt like the fight had followed me. I decided to do something I hadn't done in a while. I called my brother, Ethan, ex-military, now a contractor who built hurricane-resistant homes out in Texas. We hadn't spoken much since Dad passed, but if anyone knew how to deal with boundary problems, both emotional and physical, it was Ethan. "Karen again?" he asked as soon as I told him what was going on. "Yeah." "You want me to fly down?" he said, half joking. I smiled. "No, not yet. But can you help me with one thing?" "Name it." "I need to reinforce the north perimeter. I think she's going to try something worse." We spent the next few hours on the video call sketching out plans. Steel posts, remote cameras, reinforced fencing. All legal,
Well, I'm gonna just try to beat the game normally.
The next few days passed without drama. I focused on repairs, took care of the animals, went to the farmer's market and dropped off a few crates of tomatoes and eggs. Life started feeling normal again, until I saw the drone. It was small, black, silent, hovering just beyond the pine trees along the west line of the ranch. At first I thought it was a bird, but it held its position far too long.
Oh, you wanna play some strongest?
Watched me. I ran inside, grabbed my binoculars, and tracked it. Sure enough, it floated straight back toward Meadow Glen Estates, back toward Karen's house. That night, I filed a report to the sheriff's office. Looks like she's monitoring you, Deputy Riley told me. We'll look into it, but legally, she hasn't crossed your property line yet. She won't stop, I said. She wants to find something she can twist into a violation. She's messing with the wrong person.
Who's that?
I nodded, but I didn't laugh, because I knew Karen wasn't done, and I was right. The very next weekend, I woke up to pounding on my front door. It was 6:30 in the morning. When I opened the door, I didn't see police. I saw men, 6 of them, wearing construction vests. One of them stepped forward and said, "We're here to begin land restoration on behalf of Meadow Glen HOA. We've been ordered to remove non-approved structures and landscape elements encroaching on shared land." I stared at him. "What shared land?" He pulled out a map. It was fake. Again, a completely doctored satellite printout with boundary lines redrawn in red ink. I asked calmly, "Who sent you?" He pointed behind him, and there she was, standing by her SUV in a white pantsuit and sunglasses. Karen, smiling. This time she wasn't waiting for police. She had brought her own crew. And behind them I saw they had chainsaws, rope, spray paint. I stepped off the porch, slowly, took a breath, and said, "If any of you step onto my land, even 1 foot, that's felony trespass." The lead man hesitated. "We were told this was HOA land." I held up my phone. "And I have your faces on camera now, along with Karen's vehicle plate. I suggest you leave before I call the sheriff and your employers." The men paused, looked at each other, then one by one they backed off. But Karen didn't. She stormed toward me, screaming, "You think you can bully everyone? You think you're so smart, flashing your little license and title? You're a nobody." I stayed still. But then she did something that crossed every line. She shoved me, hard, caught me off balance, and nearly sent me to the ground. And just then, the sound of sirens filled the air. Sheriff vehicles were already pulling up the gravel road again. But this time, they weren't asking me any questions. They were walking straight toward Karen. And what happened next? Let's just say, it was finally Karen's turn to be questioned. But something even more shocking was about to be discovered, because inside her vehicle was something none of us saw coming. Something that would flip everything on its head. Again. The sheriff's vehicle doors swung open before the dust had even settled. 2 deputies stepped out fast. Deputy Riley and Sergeant Daniels. Their faces were hard and focused. Riley locked eyes with me first, then immediately turned to Karen, who was now visibly shaking but trying to look proud. "She assaulted me," I said calmly, pointing to Karen, my voice steady. Daniels didn't blink. "We saw. It's all on your front gate camera, and the body cam we activated en route." Karen's smug smile flickered. "I didn't touch her. She's lying." Daniels gestured to one of the officers. "Search her vehicle." "What? You can't do that," Karen snapped, backing toward her car. "We can, ma'am," Riley said, stepping forward. "You're on private property with false documents, unauthorized laborers, and we witnessed a physical assault. That gives us probable cause." Karen tried to protest, but it was useless. The officers moved fast. One opened her trunk, another opened the driver's side door, and then they froze. "What the hell?" One muttered. Everyone, me, the deputies, even the construction workers, turned toward the trunk.
Why are you on
Inside,
Roblox?
hidden beneath a white tarp were several metal
Why are you on
stickers with
Roblox?
the county logo scratched off. Some looked freshly removed.
What?
There were boundary flags, corner pins, even an old marker labeled
I thought that was
City
disgusting.
Infrastructure. Do not remove. Daniels turned slowly. Where did you get these? Karen opened and closed her mouth, no words coming out. Her eyes darted around like a cornered cat. That's city property, I said quietly, my heart racing. Those markers are used for
You're
water
back.
lines, gas lines, and emergency access paths. You can't even touch them without authorization, let alone steal them. Karen finally screamed, I didn't know. I was just trying to clean up the area. I didn't think anyone would notice. Ma'am, Daniel said, shaking his head, you've just admitted to tampering with public utility markers. You've brought unauthorized contractors onto private property. You committed assault in front of law enforcement. You made false reports to 911, and you're carrying forged maps. Karen began crying, loud, ugly crying, hands waving as she tried to explain everything away. It's her. She's changing everything. She's turning our neighborhood into a farm. She's embarrassing us and the goats and that windmill. Who puts a windmill in front of a gated community? I do, I said softly, stepping forward. Because this isn't your community. This is my land, my ranch, my design. You just can't handle that. You can't control me. That's when Daniel stepped in. Karen Richards, you are under arrest. The world froze. Karen gasped, tripped over her own feet, and backed into her SUV. No, you can't. I'm the HOA president. I'm the one who keeps order. Daniels read her rights as Riley gently cuffed her. The fake contractors stood in awkward silence, clearly realizing they'd been hired by the wrong person. One of them gave me a sheepish nod and mumbled, Sorry, ma'am. She said this was hers. As Karen was escorted into the back of the cruiser, she shouted one last time through the open window. This isn't over, Morgan. You'll regret this. I have friends. I have power. The cruiser door slammed shut, and all I could think was, you have no power here. But even as I watched the sheriff's car pull away, a strange feeling settled in my gut. This felt too big, too sudden. Karen was bold, yes. But how had she gotten public property markers? How had she printed those fake boundary maps? Something didn't feel right. That night, I went through my files again, just to be sure everything on my end was still intact. Property deed, survey documents, permit approvals, even old email threads with the county during construction. Everything was perfect. And then my phone buzzed. It was Ethan. You all right? He asked. Yeah, for now, but Ethan, there's something weird. What? She had city markers from the utility department and fake boundary maps that looked real, too real. Ethan was quiet a moment. Then he said something that chilled me. Morgan, what if someone inside the city office is helping her? I blinked. You think she has a mole? Think about it. That kind of stuff doesn't just show up on eBay. Karen might be loud and annoying, but she's not smart enough to forge official documents or sneak out government hardware. That thought stuck in my mind all night. The next morning, I took a trip into town. I visited the county records office and requested a property history report, just to make sure nothing had changed without my knowledge. The clerk, Janet, was friendly and helpful. She pulled up my file and printed the latest status summary. As I flipped through it, something made my blood run cold. Under property adjustments, there was a new entry. Boundary dispute under review. Complaint filed by Richard Everett. Who's Richard Everett? I asked. Janet leaned forward. Huh, that's odd. He doesn't live in Meadow Glen. Let me check. She typed quickly, then looked confused. This guy's name pops up in several HOA filings. He's listed as a legal consultant for Meadow Glen, but he's not part of any law firm. No license on file, and wait a second. Oh, wow. What? She turned her screen so I could see. Richard Everett was Karen's cousin, and not just that. He'd been involved in multiple lawsuits across the county, always against landowners near HOA properties, always with forged maps and zoning complaints, always dismissed, but only after months of stress and damage. My jaw clenched. So that's what this was.
Reality.
Karen wasn't working alone. She had a system, a game,
I saw it open. Stay off of
She would
that.
create fake complaints using Richard's identity, delay property owners with legal filings, and try to wear them down, so they'd sell or submit to HOA control. I looked Janet in the eyes. Can you print everything you've got on him? Every name, every complaint, every address? She nodded, and I left with a thick folder in my bag. This wasn't just HOA drama anymore. This was organized property harassment. As I drove home, I passed Meadow Glen's main gate. Quiet, peaceful. Not a single car outside Karen's house. But my gut told me this wasn't the end. And that night, I was proven right. Around 11:30 p.m., I heard the sound.
Is it
Glass
private?
breaking,
Yeah.
shattering.
And you're
I
not
jumped out
playing.
of bed and ran to the living room. The front window had been smashed. And on the floor, a brick, wrapped in cloth, with a single note
Get off my
attached.
server.
You don't belong
My
here.
server, not my
We're
server.
taking it all back.
I want you in it.
I backed away
You're
from
not
it and
on
picked
it
up my
and you're
phone
not
to call the sheriff.
I'm
But
not.
as I did, something else caught my eye through the broken
I'm the
window.
one who made it.
Out in the
I'm
dark.
the one who's gonna get it.
Someone was
Actually, this is mine.
a shadow, standing just beyond the tree line, waiting. And this time,
I can do whatever in my server.
I didn't blink.
That's
I didn't
not
move.
your server. So
Yes.
My eyes locked on the shadowy figure.
I joined my
standing
private.
on the tree line. Whoever it was, tall, broad-shouldered, and unmoving, just stood there, watching me through the shattered window. No movement, no sound. Stillness. The moonlight cast a faint silver outline around his silhouette. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. I grabbed my phone. heart
I'm not gonna
pounding.
spawn him, that's the thing.
Sheriff's office. Sheriff's dispatch, what's your emergency? This is Morgan Blake. Someone just threw a brick through my front window. There's a person standing near the edge of the closet. Right now. Watch. Do not engage. Stay aside while the officers are over. I grabbed up and ducked. By the time I looked back out, it was gone. Just like that. Vanished into the woods.
もううんざりだ。
First fake complaints, then property theft, now physical intimidation. You think this is still Karen? I don't know, I replied. She's locked up. We'll increase patrols out here.
構わぬ。好きなだけ近づいてこい。ただし、これが最後だ。
By nightfall, Ethan arrived with a duffel bag full of gear and a grim expression on his face. He wore combat boots.
なぜならば、これで終わりだからだ。形状21。厳重な作品。時々あの日を経験していなかった終わりはどうなっているか考える。
A black SUV, parked near the far fence. Two men with flashlights were snooping around the tool shed near the greenhouse. One of them held a crowbar. Ethan was already in his boots, loading a magazine into his rifle. The sheriff again. While we waited, keeps the land transfer papers in that shed. She's smarter than that. I bet she's got building codes, county maps, proof we can't risk leaking. The man didn't finish his sentence because Ethan stepped out from the shadows, rifle. You remember me? I remember everyone who tries to mess with my home. Later, in the sheriff's office, Daniels confirmed what we suspected. Frank Turner is tied to at least 4 HOA boards across this county. He poses as a surveyor, then discovers irregularities, files complaints with the help of Richard Everett, the same guy who forged the property dispute on your land. It's a system, a scam. They target quiet homeowners, run them down with paperwork, threats, even fake construction crews. So Karen's just one part of it? She's the loud part. She's not the brain. The money. That's coming from somewhere else. And the man in the woods? Still no ID. But we're checking. This might stretch beyond HOA fraud. Banking schemes. Real estate corruption. Daniels looked us both in the eyes. We build a case, quietly, and we make it public. I felt after weeks of fear, frustration, and intimidation, I finally had a direct purpose. I wasn't just defending my land anymore. I was going to expose this racket. Ethan and I returned home that night. The ranch gate was wide open. The lock cut clean through and nailed to the gate post. This one burned around the edges. Next time you didn't see us coming, I stared at it for a long time because this one, it had just gotten personal. I sat there frozen. That note burned around the edges, nailed into my heart. Ethan didn't say a word at first. He walked straight up to his flashlight. His jaw was clenched so tight, grinding. They're not bluffing, he muttered. Which means this was done recently. Their steps while we were trying to hold the line. Property together. No one The next morning, I went into town to meet with Sheriff Daniels again. Ethan stayed behind to finish wiring the new camera grid. Daniels looked exhausted when I arrived. Your hunt was... Frank Turner. placed the burned note on his desk. Let out a heavy breath. Direct threat. Daniel stood up and motioned to a corkboard behind his desk. The board was filled with pinned photos, documents, maps, red threads. Several other HOAs. Circled in red, labeled land. That's right. Pointing to a dot in the middle. I said slowly. Of the board photos and a new determination burning in my chest. If they wanted war, they were going to get one. When I got back to the ranch, Ethan was standing by the gate, holding something in his hand. Spying on us, I muttered. It's better, he said. The memory card was still inside. I popped it into the laptop. He led me inside and pulled up the footage. There were clips, dozens of them. Some from weeks ago, some just days old. And in nearly all of them, the same SUV kept showing up. Not Karen's, not Frank's. A black SUV, tinted windows, no plates visible. Same calm menace. We zoomed in. That's Grayson Vaughn. He used to work in city infrastructure. I did 2 projects with him back in the day. But he was fired. He must be the one providing the fake documents. I picked up the phone and called Daniels again. Pending label, dated 3 days out. If his crew came snooping again, they'd find it. And if they touched it, we'd have them on breaking and entering, tampering, theft, and conspiracy.